If you don't have a lot of time and you just care about the fire, check the description. There will be a chapter that will let you skip right there. I did reach out to Steiner and Bobcat to see if they had a response to this. They did give me a statement that I will read at the end of this video.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ryan Roberts. Own 70 acres in central Oklahoma and trying to be a first-generation sheep farmer. And the land that I bought was completely overgrown. And after hand clearing it, I said never again. So I started looking out for equipment that could handle the steep slopes, and came across all the YouTube videos on the Ventracs and the Steiners. And I priced both of those with both companies. There was about a $10,000 difference between Ventrac and Steiner. There isn't a tremendous amount of difference in price between the attachments between both companies. It was mainly in the power unit. That was my main decision when it came down to it, was price point. In the past, I've never really looked at a transaction from just the customer experience point. I have learned that is that is definitely money worth paying whenever things go completely wrong. There's no true Steiner or Ventrac dealer that's all that they deal. They're all independent, dealers that handle that product and other products. In my case, the Steiner dealer was also a John Deere dealer, and that's the one I ended up going with. As I found out, Ventrac keeps a little bit tighter rein over their independent dealers. They make sure that their mechanics are sent to their factory to learn their equipment and their attachments. And every year there's follow-up training, as far as new attachments and everything like that. The dealer that I had, their mechanics were only trained on John Deere equipment. I know I had made 3 payments on the Steiner before I had possession of it. The hydraulics with Steiners, like for your 3-point, those are put on at the dealer. They're not done at the factory, whereas Ventrac, all their 3-point stuff is added on the factory line. One of the scariest things you ever want to hear from your dealer is that their dealers aren't comfortable working on the equipment because they aren't trained, and that eventually, after about 2 months of not receiving the Steiner, that they had to actually force one of their mechanics to work on it because nobody wanted to touch the thing.
That whole 2 months, it was just sitting there waiting for the kit.
Even though they install them at the dealer, they don't necessarily stock them at the dealer. I'm wanting to say that this was probably the first 3-point that this dealer had ever put on their tractor, and they said it just wasn't an in-demand, item for those. I'd ordered the canopy, with the fan and the 3-point, and Steiners don't come standard with the fender wells and the foot pegs, so those were add-ons that they didn't have in stock. Also, the hand control is an upgrade too. That was the longest one to get put on. Like I said, I only had that for probably just the last 2 weeks that I have it 100% put together the way I'd paid for it. I will give credit on the tractor. It performed well until it didn't. And whenever it didn't was on the easiest mowing I'd put that tractor through, which was less than 2 foot of grass, no slopes, no anything. And I was just mowing patterns and got to the end of my line to turn around. And next thing I know, the grass was on fire about 10 feet behind where I just covered. Luckily, that was kind of the barren spot in my pasture, and I stopped it and got off of it, took off my shirt to go and beat out the fire in the grass, and looked behind me and poof, the whole tractor's going up. I'm probably 300 to 400 yards from my house. There's no water sources, no nothing. I called the fire department, go open the gates for them to come down. By the time we get any water up there, it's total loss. Where I think the fire started is with the hydraulics, because there was a dripping fire coming from the front, kind of by where the connections are at. It took the fire department with 2 water hoses close to an hour to actually get the flame extinguished. It just, so much hydraulic fluid. After this was done, I'd sent my dealer the video of the fire. When they finally responded the next day, it was just kind of hey, you need to call your insurance. And I was like, I don't see where this is an insurance situation. It's a tractor with 37 hours on it. And I said, well, it's the way it normally goes. I said, well, I can understand if you drove your tractor through the fire or, something like that. But, equipment doing what it's supposed to be doing when it's new, there shouldn't be fires. There shouldn't be hydraulic connection issues. There shouldn't be any of that. They stated because they weren't Steiner employees, any of their warranties had to go through Steiner, which that was some of my problems with them. Is there is no public-facing information on how to contact Steiner for anything. Even the dealers have a hard time contacting Steiner. Like just ordering basic parts like belts and filters and all that, the dealers can't find the codes on it because Steiner doesn't provide it to them.
So at this point, the machine is burned up. You've reached out to the dealer and they've kind of said, not our department. Right. So what did you do from there to try and get a hold of Steiner, and how did those conversations go?
They were able to go up the chain and they gave me 2 phone numbers. One was for their safety rep. He told me that he wears a lot of hats for Steiner and Bobcat. His name was Mark Wegner. He was the main one that I dealt with. They also had given me another phone number for a guy who was over the warranty department. He said for issues like this, when there was fire, it had to go through the safety committee first. At that point, he sent the manager from the dealership back out to my house, and they took about a dozen pictures of it, sent it off, which was before Thanksgiving. He said that the process was that it had to go through this engineers meeting to see if they could determine, anything. I'd asked about a fire inspection. They didn't want to do that. Even during that process, there was a lot of confusion. I had gotten a number from the warranty department, actually from Mark Wagner. So that's who you need to go through. And called the other guy up. He said, no, it has to go through that department first. So then I get back a hold of Mark again, and he said, oh, well, yeah, we learn something new every day. Ever since Bobcat bought us out, there's been some shuffling around, and I'm thinking that's been 3 years ago, but yeah, something new every day. It was a week or two before Thanksgiving, and it let me know that normally they had those meetings on a Tuesday and that they would get back with me. However, the next following week was going to be deer rifle season, which is a holiday in Ohio, so it was going to be a minute before they got to it. Waited till we got done with rifle season, called them back up and said, well, maybe we can get to it by the end of the year. And I said, hey, I realize in the grand scheme of things, this probably isn't a big issue for you guys, but I'm just a regular guy. I can't take a $40,000 hit. I bought a brand new machine for the warranty. If you're telling me that the warranty, is worthless, I need to know that because my insurance is on pause, and I don't want to go that route, but I also don't want the insurance company to say, hey, you waited too long to file a claim either. So basically the week after that, he got back with me and said that their engineers had taken a look at it, and there was no way to determine what caused the fire.
So when you said they took a look at it, did they just look at the pictures that the dealer manager had sent? They didn't actually come look at the machine?
No, nobody from Steiner ever came to my property. Said the fire had burned so hot and wasn't in the location that they would typically suspect. And I said, okay, so on a 37-hour engine, where do you typically suspect a fire? Said, well, it's just a lot of times dry grass accumulation, out mowing. I said, so these mowers can't mow after first frost? He said, well, a lot of equipment's hay balers, catch on fire too. I said, I understand that, but that's normally because you're putting a lot of green grass in, and it's, it's composting inside the machine if you leave it in there too long. I really don't know how a commercial machine that's built for everyday work can catch fire. And I reiterated back to him that, hey, the issues that I'd had through the dealership with them not having qualified mechanics for their products, and that they had to force somebody to connect all the, hydraulics for the 3-point. And in the end, that's where I think the fire came from. But basically the response was that if their engineers couldn't determine, where the fire started, that basically I couldn't either. They said that if my insurance were to do a fire investigation, which they didn't want to do, I asked for one. He said, no. He said, it's not worth it. He said, but if your insurance company does do a fire investigation and they were able to come back and prove that, then we'll subrogate that through your insurance company, which is just kind of if you can prove we did something wrong, then we'll pay. But until you can, we won't. It is the little guy versus the big company. Unless you want to spend thousands of dollars going to court, no, not a whole lot you can do about that.
So pretty much where it stood with Steiner is they were more than willing to just let your insurance take care of stuff because they were not either willing or able or both to give you any kind of support. Is that right?
Right. And, anytime I brought up, well, what's this warranty worth? They said, well, warranty isn't all encompassing. I said, this is the exact scenario where you think a warranty helps. If I were buying a car and it caught on fire going down the road with 37 hours on it, I'm not thinking that that's an insurance issue. If the equipment's doing what it's rated to be doing and it goes up on you, the company should be hopping all over that to try to make it right. You know, I had a $40,000 package with them. Yeah, it's not like they're big equipment, but you know, who can really take a $40,000 hit on something?
Yeah, I don't think $40,000 is insignificant to anybody. So you really want the company, especially on one of these freak accidents, to kind of step up and be an advocate for you rather than say, yeah, if your insurance is willing to take care of it, go ahead. And so did insurance end up giving you what you needed to get
Yes.
the Ventrac you've been mentioning?
The one thing I'm really lucky with is my homeowner's insurance is through State Farm, but it was all a really easy process. I talked to the girl on the phone. She set me up a claim on the computer. Basically, from that point, they weren't considering that I was going to purchase another tractor. I was a little downtrodden on that because they were going to depreciate, you know, the 4 months that I had it, also the deductible coming out of it. But then she did tell me, it was like, hey, well, are you planning on, you know, going back and buying another one? As long as you go and purchase a similar tractor of similar form and function, we'll pay for that. And I said, even if it costs more money? She said, yes, we just need a statement from the dealer that says that the tractors are of similar form and function. Went to the Ventrac dealer, they signed a statement, gave me a purchase order for that, copied it in, signed it, sent everything on. 24 hours, they had a direct deposit for the full purchase price of the Ventrac with the tough cut. Yeah, I mean, it, from an insurance point, came out really great on that. Never would have thought that was the case where they would have paid more money than what I had lost, but that was their provision through the homeowner's part for personal property.
Steiner's official statement to this, after seeing that video that you just watched, because I did send them a draft, the Steiner team uses a consistent review process to determine the cause of any product failure event. Upon learning of this customer situation last fall, the Steiner team examined the evidence received and determined the machine was too heavily damaged to isolate an initial warrantable defect. So pretty much what Mr. Roberts said. We don't see anything that says it's us, so we're not going to help you out. This video is not to bash Steiner or Bobcat or Doosan, and I think the way a company treats you, whether or not they even value you, that's something that should be a part of a decision-making process. How much it matters is going to be completely up to you to decide, but at least now you have that information. Thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate it.